All right, hey everybody, and welcome back to Upgrades. We are talking about the March of the Machine deck, Growing Threat today. I'm Jeremy Knoll.
I'm John Suarez.
And this is the black-white deck. This is the only one that's two-color out of all these five decks from this one. And this one is the one that's focused on the new mechanic, Incubate, which is a Phyrexian mechanic, and there are a lot of Phyrexian.
I was going to say, that's the most important thing, is that this is a Phyrexian deck, which is probably why it is black and white.
Yeah. And it is very much a Phyrexian deck. We were actually just talking a little bit while we were looking over our notes for this, and there's a lot of cards that they've upgraded to Phyrexian.
A lot more than you would think.
Yeah.
Including
I was like,
little germs.
Oh yeah, that's Phyrexian. Like I didn't know that the germ tokens from Living Weapon are Phyrexian now too. Even there's so many that are new. But yeah, we'll get into that just a little bit. This card is headed up by Brimaz, Blight of Oreskos. It's a 2 white-black 3/4 legendary creature Phyrexian cat. It says whenever you cast a Phyrexian creature or artifact creature spell, incubate X, where X is that spell's mana value. Now, incubate is you create an incubator token with X +1/+1 counters on it, and then you can pay 2 to transform it. It transforms into a 0/0 Phyrexian artifact creature, and it has those +1/+1 counters on it. So this one's a little bit weird, and we've talked about it a little bit behind the scenes of like incubate X means that's how many counters you put on it.
Correct.
And there are some cards that will say incubate X twice or X number of times.
Yep.
And so it's a little bit confusing because incubate X does not mean put that many of this on. That's how many counters it gets on it. So it can be a little bit confusing. Once you actually like get a chance to work with it a little bit, it makes sense. But the reading it initially might be a little confusing. So. And then we have our team-up card. You know, I'm going to let you take all these team-up cards.
No, you're not. You're going to take this one, and then I'm going to stop, which is this. What is Moira and Tashar?
Tashar, yeah.
I'll just start because this is going to be the first of many. I don't like team-up cards. I don't like them. I don't like them at all. The Thalia riding the frog, not for it.
You already yelled at Steven of, like, he suggested, hey, I want to play these cards for Commander versus. You were like, you can't play those two. Oh, wait.
Yeah. We were at MagicCon Philly, and I saw the spoiler of the unveiling of Thalia and Gitrog Monster, and you could just hear me from across the hall just yelling at it. No. Don't like it. But anyways, Moira and Tashar, 3 colors, white-black. Legendary creature is a Phyrexian spirit bird, of course. Flying 4/5. Whenever you cast a historic spell, return target non-land permanent from the graveyard, your graveyard, to the battlefield. It gains haste. You exile at the beginning of the next end step. If it would leave the battlefield, exile instead of putting it anywhere. And of course, historic spells are artifacts, legendary sagas.
Yeah, this one, the team-ups kind of try and combine elements of both of the legendary creatures that were originally printed from like a specific plane. And so Tashar kind of has that with, it has to be a certain mana value or less. I have a Tashar deck that I really, really enjoy. And Moira comes out and says, you know what, it doesn't matter what mana value it is, but we're going to make sure it's exiled so you don't get to loop and do nonsense stuff like Tashar likes.
They're just too lore-y for me, I think is what it is. There's too much lore.
I get that. They're a little deep on the knowledge, because I don't even know I can't remember if Moira had a card or not. Again, I know Tashar had it because I have the deck.
Sure.
Off the top of my head, I don't. But yeah, this one's all about the Phyrexian. So one of the things about these 5 precons is they come with Plane Chase. Plane Chase is, I think, a really cool variant. It adds a lot of nonsense to a game. It can make the games speed up quite a bit or kind of grind to a halt, especially if you play with the one deck. Yeah, you never quite know. Yeah, there's definitely ones that are just like, oh, these all get +5/+5, and then just go wild. There's other ones that are like, hey, nobody can cast a spell until X happens. And
Wrath of God.
Yeah, Wrath of God and Phenomenon. So there are 10 new planes per deck. There's 5 and Phenomenon Plane Chase cards. So there's 5 repeats and 5 new cards. We're not going to go over those. And obviously, the first thing that you want to do is look at this. And if you're not playing Plane Chase, you want to take out the Plane Chase cards. But one of those brand new cards is Ichor Elixir. And this is in all 5 decks. It's a 4-mana artifact and says if you would roll 1 or more planar dice, instead roll that many +1 and ignore 1. And then you can tap it to add 2 colorless. So there's also a Fractured Power Stone in each of these decks, which is from the old Plane Chase, which is just a 2 mana. You can tap it to add 1 colorless mana, or you can tap it to roll the planar die. So a lot of people would, roll their planar die for their free time, add 1, add 2, and then tap it to roll it a 4th time, whatever, instead of paying. So not really relevant if you're not playing Plane Chase. It's a, mana rock that's 4 for 2 mana.
Yep.
Another new card we've got.
All right, we have Bitterhorn, Nissa's Animus. This is 3 colorless. It's a legendary artifact equipment with living weapon, which we mentioned. The living weapon makes a 0/0 black Phyrexian germ token. And it gets attached to this. The equipped creature has +1/+1, and whenever the equipped creature attacks, you may search your library for a basic land card and put it into the battlefield tap. Then shuffle, and it costs 3 to equip. So it is supposed to be the play on the Sword of Animus.
Sword of the Animist, yeah, which is 2 mana, gives it +1/+1, does the same thing with the whenever it attacks, and then it equips for 2. Yep. So because Nissa got corrupted, became complete, they made version of it that's got a living weapon on it.
Yep.
So
I like it.
Yeah. Next one is, this was in the teaser that Maro did of one of, I believe it was Gavin did it because he did it for the Commander decks. And it was one of the Titans from the M11, M12, I can't remember which one, cycle, has been, a new version of it. And it's Blight Titan, which is originally Grave Titan, but now it's a 4 black Phyrexian giant, 6/6 Death Touch. Whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, mill 2 cards, then incubate X, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. So again, that X is a little bit variable there.
Yeah, it's not Grave Titan.
Yeah, it's not Grave Titan.
Cool card.
Yeah,
cool card.
Not Grave Titan at all.
All right, we've completed Huntmaster, 2 colorless and a black. This is a Phyrexian Elf Warrior, 2/3. Pay 1, tap it, sacrifice another creature or artifact, and you incubate 3. So you'll make an incubator token with 3 +1/+1 counters on it. Seems sweet. I think people are going to highly underestimate Incubate.
Yeah. And this
is take a minute.
This is one of the ones that's actually in the main set, too. This is one of the few cards that's in the main set, not just in the Commander precon. So, the next one is Excise the Imperfect. And I think this one's sweet. It's a instant for 1 white. Exile target non-land permanent. Its controller incubates X, where X is its mana value. So... It seems like it's a good removal spell for their side if you need to get something that's like, being problematic, but you don't care if they just have a generic XX.
Yep.
But you can also do it on your side if you got something big in there, like your Blight Titan gets targeted with removal, and you're like, cool. I'm fine with having that be an XX instead of just going to the graveyard where I can't get it back right now.
Yeah, it's very cool. Very sweet card.
It's kind of a nice little flexible spot there.
All right, we got Filigree Vector, 3 colorless and a white artifact creature, Phyrexian Construct. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each of any numbered target creatures and a charge counter on any number of target artifacts. And you can pay 1, tap it to sacrifice another artifact and proliferate.
Yeah, this is it's just randomly got Throne of Death.
It does, yeah. It does, yeah. It is a 1/1, so it's vulnerable, but
it's
that's a lot.
4, which is like...
Yeah, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on any number of creatures you want.
Any number of creatures you want, and a charge counter on any number of artifacts, which is interesting, because there's like... Alright, there's a lot of little things you can do with that. Not a lot of cards will actually put new charge counters on your other ones that get those charge counters. So, Path of the Schemer is a sorcery, 4 and a black. Each player mills 2 cards, then you put a creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It's an artifact in addition to its other types, and this is the one that also has the Will of the Planeswalkers, which in all 5 decks there's 1 card that has this, and it's a vote mechanic, like Will of the Console, but it cares about Plane Chase.
Yep.
So it's starting with you, each player votes for Planeswalker Chaos. If Planeswalk gets more votes, if Chaos gets more votes, Chaos ensues, or is tied, Chaos ensues.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not playing with Planeswalk, it's just, it's a 5 mana rise from the grave kind of thing. Yeah. All right, next we have Vulpine Harvester, 3 colorless and a white 3/3 Phyrexian Fox, because apparently there's foxes here. Whenever 1 or more Phyrexians you control attack, return target artifact from your graveyard to the battlefield if its mana value is less than or equal to the total power. So we got to see Corey kind of play with this card a little bit in the Commander Versus video, returning his Commander Sphere.
Yeah, sacking Commander Sphere to draw a card, getting it back. Yeah. It was like float a mana, sack it, attack with this.
Play something, attack with it, get it back.
Yeah. It was pretty neat. Yeah, it's cute. And our last one shows, this is another one that I did not realize that these turned into Phyrexians. Darksteel Splicer. So Splicers were pretty prominent in New Phyrexia. This one's 6 and a white for a 1/1, and it says whenever Darksteel Splicer or another non-token Phyrexian enters the battlefield under your control, create X 3/3 colorless Phyrexian Golem artifact creature tokens, where X is the number of opponents you have, and golems you control have indestructible. So there's a whole bunch of these Splicers that usually gave you like 1 3/3 golem, and then gave golems some extra ability. They gave you like flying or first strike or whatever. This one, Pretty sweet.
I'm upset that it doesn't give it infected toxic. That's definitely Blightsteel behind it, right?
Yeah, that's definitely Blightsteel Colossus behind it. It's just hanging out, but yeah, it's
all right.
Getting X3/3 golems is
I like the being able to get multiple whenever something happens. I don't like the trend of expensive cards that count how many opponents you still have.
Yeah,
it's a little weird.
Yeah, it is a little weird, but that's it's getting to the point.
It helps end the game if you're all still there.
Yeah,
it does help that.
It can end, but once you get down to 1v1, it's
or even 2.
Yeah, even 2. Yeah, it's a little bit. So now here's a couple of cards that we would suggest adding. As with all of our upgrades videos, we are looking at budget options. So each card is individually under $5. You obviously can go way higher with this if you have the cards, if you have the budget. But these are nice ones. Take off the shelf, buy a couple of singles, throw them in there, make the card or make the deck just a little bit better.
Yeah, this set has some really spicy ones if you have the budget to put into this deck.
Yeah, this one's got this one and Phyrexia all will be one, especially for this deck. Because you could put the
Mother Machines.
You could put Elish Nor Mother Machines in it. You could put the Mondrak Glory Dominus.
Yeah.
Which is I think like $15-20, but it's a real good card.
Yeah.
So if you've got the budget, definitely suggest those. But for right now, $5 or less, we've got a couple in here that we would suggest. The first one is from Dominator United, and that's Ellis Ilkor Sadistic Pilgrim. And it's a black-white for a legendary creature, Phyrexian Core Cleric, 2/2. Has Death Touch, and whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. Whenever another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life.
Yep.
So since you're going to be kind of caring about, your creatures dying with Bramaz, you're probably going to be sacrificing cards to actually get that to trigger. It's going to help out just a little bit, and then those creatures entering the battlefield is going to be pretty good. So the incremental life gain really helps. Like if you gain 10 life during the course of a game, that's going to be really good. So highly suggest it.
All right, another new card. This one is from the Mom set, or the proper March of Machine set. Grafted Butcher. Calls in a black Phyrexian Samurai, 2/2. When Grafted Butcher enters the battlefield, Phyrexians you control gain Menace till end of turn. It also gives other Phyrexian creatures you control, or other Phyrexians you control, +1/+1, in case they happen to not be creatures.
Yep.
3 colors to the black, sacrifice an artifact or a creature, and you can return Grafted Butcher from your graveyard to the battlefield only as a sorcery.
Yeah, this has got a lot going for it.
It does.
In this deck.
It does.
Like, it's a sack outlet. Obviously, it's 4 mana.
Yep.
It's 3 and a
Still.
black. But it's not a free sack outlet. But still, it's a sack outlet for an artifact or a creature. So you can sack those. You can sack those incubator tokens if they're not creatures.
Yep.
You can sacrifice little creatures, whatever. Pumps up your Phyrexians. And it just
and then gives you the little menace attack
if it comes in. So really good. The next one is another one that has a lot of abilities that all work really well. It's not a Phyrexian itself, but that's Fane the Broker. It's a 2 and a black, 3/3 legendary creature, human warlock. Tap, sacrifice a creature, put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature. Tap, remove a counter from a creature you control, create a treasure token. Tap, sacrifice an artifact, create a 2/1 white and black inkling creature token with flying, and then you can pay 3 and a black to untap it. So
I like the idea of removing an incubator counter and getting a treasure.
Yeah.
Without having to flip the incubator.
Yeah, without having to flip the incubator as a creature. It's just like it can get pretty wild pretty quick. No, you do have to have it from creature you control.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I forgot that was the one part there. But creates a treasure token. You're probably going to be putting +1/+1 counters on a couple other things. But sacrificing the artifact, if you have just like a incubator token that you've like
turned into a flyer,
knocked down, or turn it into a flyer, you can sacrifice another small creature to get that trigger off of Bramaz, and then also put 2 more +1/+1 counters on one of your other creatures. So works really well.
All right, next card we have is an oldie, but still a goodie. All right, they've made a lot of cards a lot better over the years, but Phyrexian Arena. Colorless black, enchantment, beginning your upkeep, you lose a life, draw a card.
Yeah,
classic.
There's definitely been some contention on whether or not this is still good in decks.
Well,
I think it's great.
It's on theme, and sometimes that's more important.
I think it's one of those that it's kind of unassuming. Like, if you've played for a long time, you know it's a good card.
Sure.
But if you're playing with people who've only been playing for 4 or 5 years, it can kind of fly under the radar and be like, okay, well, I'm going to lose a life. I'm going to draw a card. I'm going to lose a life, I'm going to draw a card. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of sits there and goes under the radar a little bit and gains you that advantage.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are playing cards like Erebos, God of the Dead now, but that's much more expensive.
Yeah.
Necropotence, also way more expensive. This card is just, it also doesn't paint a target on your head. You just
exactly.
have a nice
that's what I'm saying. Like
here it is.
It kind of flies under the radar of, there are a lot of newer cards that do much bigger things that make you a threat immediately.
Yes. This is not one of them.
And this is not one of those. Yeah, this will give you the advantage that you need. So the last one is from Phyrexia, all will be one, and that is Might Overseer, not M-I-G-H-T, M-I-T-E. Because it cares about those little tokens. 3 and a white, first strike, 3 and a white, Phyrexian Soldier, 4/2. First strike, as long as it's your turn, creature tokens you control get +1/+0 and half first strike. Really great for your incubator tokens.
Yep.
And then 3 and a Phyrexian white, create a 1/1 colorless Phyrexian Might artifact creature token with Toxin 1, and this creature can't block. So you can get a couple extra little ones if you really need to have fodder. But it also just is really good for getting those incubator tokens through.
It also reminds me of the bodies from Westworld every time I see that.
Yeah. All right, so now we're going to talk about a few cards that you can remove from the deck pretty safely. As always, any cards that you want to remove are completely up to your own choice and your own tastes and your own kind of power level. But here are some cards that we would suggest taking out for these.
I have at least 2 cards real fast.
Yes. There are obviously at least 2 cards in each of these decks, though, that you should take out if you're not playing Plane Chase. That's Ichor Elixir. I wanted to say Wellspring for some reason. It's stuck in my head. Ichor Elixir and Fractured Power Stone.
Fractured Power Stone, at the very least, is just a 2-mana add-one, so it's still
a lot of
people
played Fractured Power Stone in like 2011, 2012.
That card is still fine as a rock.
Yeah.
If you need another Thought Vessel, Mind Stone, Cold Steel Heart,
we didn't have Arcane Signet back in 2012, 2011, so we played Fractured Power Stone.
Didn't have Thought Vessel,
and we liked it.
Yeah.
So those 2 we immediately talk about taking out.
All right, first card we're going to take out is Ancient Stone Idol. This is a 10-mana artifact creature golem. It is a 12/12. It does have Flash, which is better for 10 mana. And this spell costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature. It has Trample, and then when it dies, you make a 6/12 colorless construct artifact creature token with Trample.
Yeah, so this is a golem, but not a Phyrexian golem.
No,
just
a
straight golem.
Just a
so it's
golem.
Fine. It's fine. It's a golem. It is a good blocker, if you're getting attacked with a bunch.
That card is not made for blocking.
But
that
it's
is
not
12.
But it is
12.
not made for blocking.
It's not made for blocking.
It's nice for them when they're like, "Oh, I'm going to attack you with my 5/5."
Sure, yeah. It's 10 mana is a lot.
10 mana is a lot, so I don't suggest playing this one. You can sneak it in under the radar if you're playing a really aggressive tokens deck.
You can.
Now I've got a 12.
You can get them, yeah.
But whatever. The next one is Go for the Throat. This one for me is, there's already D-Spark, and I think, Fracture.
There's never enough removal, Jeremy.
There's enough removal, and this one's a conditional removal. And it
has to have a throat. That's not very conditional.
It has to have a throat. It has to target a non-artifact creature. So we already have Mortify, D-Spark, Swords to Plowshares, Utter End, and Excise the Imperfect that are in the deck. I think that this spot would be much better
with a
Path to Exile, with a Vindicate, with just about anything else.
Sure.
I personally, I always end up in that situation where I play a Go for the Throat, I play a Terror, I play a Doomblade, and then they have the black creature that it's really annoying, or they have the artifact creature that's really annoying. It's just, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's, that's my luck, but yeah.
Next card we have to take out is Path of the Schemer. So because we're not playing with Plane Chase, this card's normal text is not very good. It's not good enough. It's just a Rise from the Grave, essentially.
Yeah.
That lets you kind of mill and maybe get lucky and hit people.
Yeah, they're the ones that are Will of the Planeswalkers are very hit and miss.
Yes.
And I think this one's just on the edge where you get to mill a couple, and it could be really cool to Rise from the Grave something really big, but you've got other options that you could do that with.
Yeah. There are more Reanimator type cards.
Yeah. The next one is one that I usually like playing with because it makes the game a little bit more fun. To me, it's very much like the Monarch mechanic, and that's Coveted Jewel. 6 mana. When it enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards, tap for add 3 mana of any one color, and whenever one or more creatures an opponent controls attack you and aren't blocked, that player draws 3 cards and gains control of Coveted Jewel, untap it. it's just it was the Monarch thing, kind of situation where it's fun. It makes the game kind of be a little bit more aggressive, and it makes the game go much faster because you're drawing and ramping.
Yeah. So, I have played this card in a Vintage, as a 4-of. So like the card is very powerful, but the objective is to never give it to your opponent.
Yes, that is true.
Just take your Ancestral Recall.
But this one, in this deck especially, is probably like okay, not great. You probably want to take it out.
And just because we were trying to find another card to really pull out of here, there's a lot of really good cards.
Yeah,
kind of grasping at straws to pull out like bad cards from this deck. I don't think it has very many of them.
Yeah.
But the last card we had was Phyrexian Gargantua. It's just a 6-mana 4/4 horror. Can't believe they didn't update this to be a Phyrexian.
Oh no, this one's
is it?
Yeah,
okay, I grabbed the wrong image. Okay, I was about to lose it.
In Mom, it's definitely a Phyrexian
as it should be.
Yeah.
When it enters battlefield, you lose 2 life and draw 2 cards. So
it's got
just
new art.
Giant body.
It's an interesting one, but it's basically Phyrexian Rager doubled.
Yeah, it's just doubled.
It's instead of a 3-mana 2/2, it's a 6-mana 4/4, and you lose 2 and draw 2, and it's just a little bit bigger, but it's like it's fine. You've got if you're putting in Phyrexian Arena and stuff, especially
the design teams for the Urza block were much smaller, so they were like, "Ooh, we have this 3-mana 2/2, double it
exactly
and make it uncommon."
So that is the Growing Threat deck for March of the Machine, singular, by the way. I know a lot of people like saying March of the Machines, but it's definitely a...
How are you going to do that?
It's Machine, March of the Machine. It's all will be one.
Yeah.
I know that we talked about that a little bit. But yeah, that's this deck. Tell us what you think about this deck in the comments, and let us know what cards you would add to the deck and what cards you would remove, because like we said, this one was kind of difficult for cards to remove. There are definitely cards we'd like to add in, but the removal was a little tight with this one. So let us know what you think, and let us know what your favorite deck out of these 5 is in the comments below. Also make sure to like, share, subscribe, binge all of Commander Versus, and make sure to check out the rest of our March of the Machine. I almost caught myself there. March of the Machine upgrades videos coming out soon. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.